It's a very difficult, complicated subject. As I've listened to the comments, one of the things that I think has to be asked is a kind of, it's not a critique of public service as a thing, but it's a question. Deo has said there are a huge number of NGOs working in Burundi. This person says, where's the sort of the proof that this actually works? You respond, we've got to focus on that. Judy says we're really working on trying to make sure that things work. The problems of lack of coordination, the problems of overdoing expertise and not listening, the problems of sort of massive amounts of programs that may not add up to. Is this just an inevitable part of a vast culture of public service that we're just always going to have this to the degree we have? Or is there actually something in the nature of public service that could make it more effective? And what might those be? I mean,
so it relates to your question. Your question was really, how come if all of this has been going on for so long, things aren't better? And I think that is the fundamental question. And you gave one answer, and that is a critical answer. I don't think that there has been, many of these programs aren't set up to measure themselves to achieve impact. They're set up to make you feel good, and you really feel good when you're doing it. If you do measure, you often measure outputs rather than outcomes. So, and often volunteerism is aggregated on your schedule when it's convenient for you. I think I'll go for the semester.
Right.
Or, and then what happens over Christmas break?
Right.
And so, but that's not how problems live on the world. They don't live on our calendars. So it's both the programs themselves, which often don't hold themselves to achieve impact, the individuals who are working in them who schedule in public service according to their convenient, and I'm not being pejorative, I'm really trying.
Exactly.
We've been trying to analyze this because that is the $64,000 question. Why aren't the problems solved? We have all these things going on, lots of people, lots of money, lots of time. New problems arise, so clearly that's one part of the answer. But as we've disaggregated it, the things that I've just reviewed and maybe many others are another piece of the answer. And so you need to systematically look at this and address all of these ways that these efforts could improve in order to finally perhaps solve problems. You also need to get to the root causes. A lot of what we're doing in public service, as my founder, John D. Rockefeller, called it, we're putting Band-Aids on weeping wounds. Mm-hmm. And we're not getting to the fundamental causes of the problems. And the only way, ultimately, to solve them so that they don't recur is to solve the root cause. And a lot of intervention is not doing that.
Right. Absolutely.
Dale?
Right.
So many Ivy Leagues, Harvard, Yale, you know, they live within, they do their semester, they do their volunteer service, and then they're gone. Right. You know, for the last 6 years, I've been living in an unnamed neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I've seen my presence actually being in the community, making a difference in the kind of work that I've been doing.
Dale?
I really believe that NGOs or other programs, academic institutions that are working with the, somewhere within the community, I should be careful about this. Are they working with the community or within the community? And I think it is extremely important to first figure out where am I? Why am I doing this? And speaking of the from the me generation to the we generation? Are we actually doing a service, for example, for ourselves or for the community? And if it's for the community, are we getting the community involved? For example, I like to mention the example of Village Earthworks in Burundi because, when we started, we actually, I was in Burundi and someone was sick, and that someone turned out to be my own mother. And I saw a lot of people who were detained because they could not pay for medical bills, just that. And I had no money, I had nothing, but I had friends. And I said, what can we do? Well, everyone said, gosh, this is horrible, this is blah, blah, blah. And so you have people who can choose to run away because it's too much. You have other people who are horrified and who say, well, we need to do something. And like some of my friends. So I talked to community members, and they said, well, how about if we actually set up a tent here? If I have friends who are, clinicians or anyone could come and see you from right here instead of being incarcerated or having all these problems. They got so excited. These are people who have less than nothing in terms of financial support, but they have hardly, they can be really guided. Where they start making bricks, of course, many of them do not have the knowledge. The rain came, thousands of bricks, boom, just a mile. So I went back and talked to friends, and we raised $700, $700 US. Send that money back, and we're able to buy food for people. They made a lot of bricks, and they were really engaged. So the community really owns the project. They have the ownership. They participate, and that is how really we're able to really get done what we've been able to get done. Mm-hmm. Now, who do we actually get involved? It's really interesting to see, when you are in a community, there are those who think about themselves, and there are those who think about a community. How actually do you think about yourself, or how do you think about community? Sometimes, unfortunately, it's human nature. You think about yourself based on your personal experiences. And this is, I think, the reason why, for example, we got a lot of women. We created this committee, a committee of men, 10 men and 12 women. This is in Burundi, in a place that is what it is. And I said, well, we can work together like that. That committee turns out to be something quite interesting. The men were talking, the women were listening. When it was about to do the work, only the women were showing up. Why? Why? Because healthcare in Burundi, women's health, that is like another language, neglected. Every woman you see with a child on her back is suffering like an animal dying on the side of the road. And why were they participating more than anyone else? The committee of men disappeared. We had one man left. I asked him actually whether he could join the women's committee, and he said, fine. Meanwhile, the committee of women kept growing because we really talked to them, say, well, these are issues, health issues, problems. So who actually are we talking about? The people who are suffering. And we got them involved. They really have been so involved in building the clinic, and this is exactly how you find out exactly what are the needs. And I think we, NGOs and other people, the programs really fail simply because they really do not listen, they don't observe, they are just experts. Mm-hmm. You have nothing to teach me, I've learned, and I'm the expert, listen to me. And you see what you see. That's my opinion about that.
Should we, how close are we? One more. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I wondered, I'm Marilyn Elizabeth, born in 52. Oh, microphone, okay. I just wondered whether a part of the community, the seniors in the community, the art people, I think that's a source that's been undertapped. And those people have time, and they have ability, and particularly if they've attended the schools here, and they would like to be utilized, and I think they're untapped. I just wondered, do you have a group in your organization that could utilize all this from the retirement community, the ARP community?
Absolutely. So I actually partner with AARP on a wide range of initiatives. I've now learned to go to them, say this is going to launch, how can you help me? They have a great website, Create the Good, and we're able to work with them, and it has been phenomenal. We also have worked with the New York Foundation for Senior Citizens. And one of my initiatives is actually with the Department for the Aging. So in answer to your question, we realize this is an untapped resource, and one thing I figured out is to ask the experts on how to engage this community and not try to come up with the answer myself. And I think some of those initiatives I've mentioned that have been oversubscribed, a good bit of our volunteers have been from the senior population.
So Deo, Judy, Diane, thank you very, very much for being here.